What's up, addicts? Welcome to the Fantasy Addiction Network. In this video, I wanted to do a redo of the CLYDE EDWARDS-HELAIRE player breakdown video for Fantasy Outlook due to Damian Williams opting out of the season. Obviously, that changes a lot of what we expected from him in 2020 now that he is going in pretty much as the clear lead back and will more likely than not receive the vast majority of the carries. So given that revision, going through this real quick, for those of you that watched the first video, I'm not going to take as long on these points. You can go back and watch the original one to hear me hash this out a little bit more. But CLYDE EDWARDS-HELAIRE didn't really do much in college until his last season. And, playing in LSU last year, it was a historically good season for a team. So it was hard for him to not produce, but he definitely produced very well. 1,400 rushing yards, 55 receptions, absolutely absurd for a running back in college, 453 receiving yards, and 17 total touchdowns. Obviously, this was a guy that Patrick Mahomes went out and specifically was asked after the draft or before the draft who he wanted. He wanted Clyde, and Joe Burrow has also sung praises of CLYDE EDWARDS-HELAIRE as well. So while he doesn't actually come in as an athletically measurable type of guy like Jonathan Taylor in the draft, he ended up going in the first round to the Chiefs, who clearly saw something in him that they felt was going to help them in this Super Bowl window. I mean, the Chiefs you only really have a good Super Bowl window before you have to start paying your quarterback a ton. Patrick Mahomes signed that big contract, but it was an extension, so he does still have like a year or two left before he's starting to get paid the absolute absurd amounts if you look at the way that contract was structured. So the Chiefs are very much in a win now mode, and going after CLYDE EDWARDS-HELAIRE, it wouldn't make sense for them to not use him. CLYDE EDWARDS-HELAIRE didn't come in as like the number one prospect by any means in anyone's eye in terms of athletically or even his production profile. You got guys like J.K. Dobbins, Jonathan Taylor, doing much more in the production and in the athletic department, but clearly he impressed enough people with his receiving skills, arguably one of the best receivers in this class among running backs. Maybe DeAndre Swift would get the edge slightly, but he impressed the right people, and he goes to a team that now clearly is going to need him a lot. So last year, he had a 10.2% college target share, which is 76th percentile. His yards per carry was a bit lower, but that doesn't really matter as much for college projection coming over in the NFL, especially for a running back like CLYDE EDWARDS-HELAIRE is going to see most of his work in the receiving game. Now, we updated the vacated targets and carries with Damian Williams opting out. There's now 93 vacated targets and 235 vacated carries. Yes, they did bring DeAndre Washington in, but I highly doubt he's going to see a massive amount of the workload here. Damian Williams last year faced only 6 defenders in the box on average, which is incredibly low, and that typically correlates the best to yards per carry. So look for CLYDE EDWARDS-HELAIRE to have a pretty decent yards per carry. Damian Williams had a 24.8% juke rate, only 1.8% breakaway run rate, which, considering his top end speed being a bit faster than CLYDE EDWARDS-HELAIRE, wasn't that much on the season. Could also be due to the injuries that he was dealing with. Last year, Damian Williams only finished with 3.8 yards per carry, but still was decently productive in the games that he played, and he faced one of the best game scripts in the NFL, which is to be expected when you have Patrick Mahomes under center. So this is a very good opportunity for CLYDE to come in and be dominant immediately. As we've also mentioned in the other videos that we've done over CLYDE EDWARDS-HELAIRE, this was Andy Reid's running back finishes over the course of time. I know trying to use coach and running back correlation in terms of fantasy stats can be a little bit misguided, but overall it's hard to ignore the fact of what Andy Reid has been able to do over the course of his career. And need to remind you that this number 4 right here, that was when Kareem Hunt was in his rookie season. That was with Alex Smith. So that's one important note. And another thing to note about that was it was a very similar situation. We were coming into the season where Spencer Ware was looking to be the number 1 running back, and then Kareem Hunt was going to be making splash plays and hopefully picking up as the season went on. Spencer Ware gets hurt in the offseason, and then Kareem Hunt becomes the guy and instantly becomes a fantasy superstar. So we're in a very similar situation now with Damien Williams opting out right before the season. So honestly, guys, like I said, go back and listen to some of the arguments I made before. When we still had Damien Williams there, I was a bit bullish on Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and now that there is literally no one of note ahead of him on the depth chart, even if he only sees 60-65% of the running back touches, he's going to be absolutely dominant this year. Now we have him projected for close to 1,000 rushing yards, 57 receptions, 471 receiving yards, and 12 total touchdowns. That puts him right at about 270 fantasy points, and that puts him squarely in the top 6-7 of running backs. You know, you can rank him right around where we have Dalvin Cook and Miles Sanders. Absolutely love Clyde Edwards-Helaire this year. You're going to have to pay a lot more for him than you were going to prior to Damien Williams opting out, so that is a bit of a bummer if you were hoping to grab him in the 3rd round and hope that he would be able to turn things around. Now you're going to have to spend a 1st-round pick unless your league mates are completely sleeping. If he falls to the 2nd round, it's a no-brainer pick. Just smash that button and run away with the money that you're going to receive. But most likely, if you're playing in a competitive league where your league mates are paying any attention at all and aren't living under a rock, you're going to have to spend at least a mid-round 1st-round pick. So, but at this point, I totally get it. I get the logic for it, and it would be hard to imagine, unless he gets hurt, that he's not going to return value on that pick. So that's my take. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next video.